Andy, it's good to see you and welcome to Mind Your Own Business. As you know, this is a podcast primarily for business owners and CEOs. And I'm really excited that you're here today.
Happy to be here. Good to see you, Steve.
It's good to see you. So Andy Kiel, Optimize Investments, and we're really going to learn today something pretty special. Very, very excited. So Andy, you talk to a lot of investors, you talk to CEOs. What are you hearing right now? I mean, there's a lot of really interesting things going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening out there right now. We're hearing a lot of fear, a lot of opportunity that they tend to go hand in hand. A lot of nervousness of what's going on. Of course, the big thing everyone seems to be talking about lately, right, is inflation.
Yeah. And when they express this, have people kind of found a path through this, or are they still looking for answers on the best ways to sort of combat this?
Well, I certainly hear different things from different business owners. With us being in the real estate industry, I feel very blessed that we're poised to actually handle the situation pretty well.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting about your business is you've sort of found a way to generate wealth during good times as well as trying times. And we'll get deeper into this. I can see a house behind you on the board. But talk a little bit about your company and what you do, just so our listeners can kind of understand.
Well, we are really a private equity company, and my job is to produce safe, secure, long-term cash flow for our clients. So really, and we use real estate and specifically single-family homes, which is really the most good times or bad times, people need a place to live. So it is, in my opinion, the best asset class in the real estate industry to work with, or at least the most safe and secure, because even in the worst of times, people need a place to live. Mom and dad and the kids need a roof over their heads. So that's the asset class we chose to work with.
Gotcha. And when you said safe, secure cash flow, I mean, that's almost like the dream of any investor or business owner. Talk a little bit more about what that means.
Well, when I talk to other successful business owners, I'm told that when they're looking at investing their money, it's very important. In fact, it's just paramount to them that their money be safe at all times. So we work with that to really look at the safety issue first. And my job is to, first and foremost, never, ever, ever lose money. So we always want to make sure that the assets that we buy and the money that we place is always safe and secure. And really, with this asset class, even in good times and bad, that's what we're looking to do, because we're buying things for the long term and we're getting them to cash flow. So even in a market correction, the cash flow on our properties is still there.
Wow. So I see a house behind you, and I'm guessing, we might get a master class here in how this works. Can you kind of take us through and show us how safe, secure cash flow comes to life?
Sure. Let me back up for a moment to explain a little bit more specific about what we do, because
sure,
it's more than just buying a house and renting it out to someone. We found years ago that there's a really underserved segment of the marketplace in the form of business owners and self-employed individuals. So that's really our niche market, is we want to work with these kind of folks, because as a business owner or self-employed individual, banks don't particularly like us because we don't have W-2 income typically.
Right.
So we found a lot of folks that, very hardworking individuals as business owners and self-employed, but if we don't have the boxes to check for the bank, they don't want to lend to us. So what we were able to find is there's a huge demand for folks in those industries that want to own a home, but the bank won't let them. So what we do is a long-term lease with an option to buy. So we're giving them an opportunity to get their foot in the door into home ownership and really have the opportunities of going in, getting a home, fixing it up the way they want to fix it up, rather than the typical landlord situation where they're not allowed to do anything. With our program, we treat them very much like the homeowner. They can go in, if they want to paint their kids' room pink, that's completely okay with us. So we let them get into a home in a situation where they get a place for their family to live and be able to build some long-term equity in their place. So that's the specific situation that we're solving for by doing
So what I'm hearing you is that banks who are stingy in their cash to our businesses, it's very hard to get. We generally go out and get investors because the banks are much more conservative. They're even more conservative, it sounds like. If I'm an entrepreneur, I'm building a business, I'm plowing a lot of that money back into it. That the fact that I'm not a salaried employee, which in some cases is more risky, hurts my ability to buy a home.
Correct. I don't know that I'd use the term conservative, but the banks have their guidelines that they have to work within. And you know, if the credit score box isn't ticked, if the income box isn't ticked, if all the things that the federal guidelines basically aren't met, then it's a denial, and that's what we try to work with.
And if you think about the advent of an acceleration of what is called the gig economy, where more of us are creating our own companies and providing services, that will make it harder for us in some cases to get a loan we might have qualified for when we worked for somebody else.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm still intrigued by that house behind you and how this opportunity works. So could you maybe take us through and show us the basic principles of the business?
Sure. So what we'll do is we will partner with investors. And this is basically how we get a return on investment for ourselves and our investors by going out and locating single family homes to buy, and then we'll effectively do all the work. So we'll find the house, we'll find the resident house, we'll do all the accounting, we'll do the collections, we'll do the tax returns, everything. There's some just really wonderful aspects to this. So we're trying to give typically higher net worth individuals an opportunity to get into the real estate market and industry without all the headaches of tenants and toilets and all the negative things that we hear out there. And real estate as an asset class offers some just wonderful benefits that other asset classes don't offer. Tax benefits being a huge piece of that right now.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to show a little bit about what we do and how we partner with our investors. And I'm actually going to use an example of a house we just purchased a couple of days ago, as a matter of fact. We'll use lots of different ways of finding homes, and this is a pretty tight market, but we can do anything from buy the right properties off of the MLS to use a huge network that I've set up over the years with folks that find off-market properties and so forth. But the source isn't so important as to see how the basic rundown works. So the example of the house we just purchased, we bought it right off the MLS in this case for $265,000. Single family house right here in Tucson on the east side. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, around 2,000, a little over 2,000 square feet. So a particularly good size house for this price. So $265,000 purchase. I'm going to just do some quick rounding here to make the math a little bit easier, about $66,000 down or 25%. So we basically got a loan for around $199,000. What we're able to do with these loans, 25% down, we're able to get a loan with a monthly payment in this case of about $1,275 a month. So that's our payment. That's all inclusive: taxes, insurance, and principal and interest, so PITI as they say. So our payment is $1,275. And for a house like this, what we'll do is we'll go out and find a resident who really wants to own a home and move them in and give them the opportunity to do a lease with an option on this property. So something like this, we would probably put an option price, so they'd have 10 years to exercise their option and go refinance, buy the house. And our option price on the house would be $365,000, or about $100,000 more than we just bought it for. So this is a locked-in price 10 years into the future. And believe me, there's a lot of folks out there that would just love an opportunity to lock in a price for 10 years in a market like this. So that would be our option price. So you can already see that we're building in $100,000 of profit right from the get-go. So again, for something like this, it would be about $66,000 down. And then we partner with an investor. It's going to be about it's going to be $5,000 we're going to keep in reserves. So that's basically, so if something comes up, if we have a situation where we get a huge storm and we have an emergency and the roof blows off the house or something, we immediately have money on reserves to go in and handle any emergency repairs. The last thing I ever want to do with one of my investor partners is give them a call up on Sunday afternoon while they're out golfing or doing something and say, oh, by the way, we've got a problem, I need money. So we always have it ready to go. So we keep a reserve account for all properties. A case like this, we usually figure about $5,000 just for closing costs. And then we charge a $10,000 placement fee when we do one of these projects. And that's basically so we don't ever have to charge any management fees moving forward. Cost of office staff. We do have a full staff here in this office. We are a business. It does cost some real money to run things. So generally speaking, in today's market, we're looking at about a $90,000 investment per house for any of our capital investors who want to invest with us. So their all-in number to invest with us would be about $90K. And the numbers on something like this would look like our income on the other side of the equation is going to be, a house like this would easily rent for $19.95. Our payment is $1,275 a month, which gives us $720 a month times 12. That brings me to $86.40. Write that a little bigger here. Annually. And then we'll also charge a non-refundable option fee to our resident for the privilege of getting the 10 years locked in price, which I'll just round down a bit here, but that gives us about $13,500 of income in our first year. So just using some quick back of napkin kind of math here, 13.5 divided into the 90,000. Year one, 15% cash on cash rate of return. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. That's the cash flow piece. So we monetize these homes in many different ways. So I'm not even talking about tax benefits, the appreciation piece there. So this is just really how we monetize the business, and we're able to get rates of return far superior to pretty much any other investment out there. So that's kind of our program in a real quick nutshell.
And if I look at the rates right now for deposits of the 90,000 range, they're at and around 1% or lower. And
Yes.
so you're delivering 15 times more and a pretty stable investment, given you can rent at slightly below that at attractive market rates and have the hook that this can be their house in the future. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, and to be clear, when we partner with an investor, we split profits. So their profit would be half, our profit would be half. Of course, they're made whole again at the end, and they get all of their initial investment back first before profits are split when exercising. So the investor's rate of return would be half of that upfront, and that would
call it 8%.
Yeah, so call it 7.5%. Still a mighty good rate of return for an asset that also provides all the other things like the tax benefits, the appreciation, and so forth.
Right. Yeah, the depreciation benefits are considerable in the first year. And if I didn't want this income, in this case, so let's just call it the $7,000 of my split on it, can I, continue to reinvest and build a portfolio? If I had 10 of these or 20 of these, it could provide a good future revenue stream for me or my family, but it can also, because of the depreciation and other benefits, it can drive down my current income.
Correct. Actually, one of my investors is a high income earner out of California. And this has a really nice benefit for him, touching on both of the issues you mentioned there. What we can do on a house like this, we have the option of going through and taking accelerated depreciation. Now, we're allowed to do that in 2022, and I believe that window closes after this year. So there is some urgency in getting this done if someone has some high income this year. But what we can do is we'll go through and source whatever personal property is in a house like this. In a typical house, we can easily find $20,000 to $40,000 of personal property based on IRS guidelines. Well, what does that mean? The vegetation, believe it or not, is personal property. Cabinets are personal property. Appliances, ceiling fans, fixtures of that nature, all personal property. So we'll go through and pretty much come up with a list, and it's based on replacement value. So that's the magic word for this type of thing. What does it cost to replace all the fixtures, appliances, flooring, cabinets in a house? Easily $20,000 to $40,000. We're not even in questionable area there. So what we can do with that depreciation and take it in year one instead of spreading it over the 27.5 years, and that depreciation can actually offset income. So that's especially powerful for folks that are in tax situations where they need to offset some income. And this particular investor that I'm mentioning, it's kind of fun because as a high income earner, he doesn't need the cash flow right now, but he wants to build a retirement portfolio with real estate. So what we're doing with his portfolio is, instead of taking all the nice cash flow that comes out of here and putting it back into our pockets, we're taking all of the cash flow and paying down the loan. So that we have a $199,000 loan in this particular property. What we would do is just take all of this and just rapidly pay down the loan. And typically in today's market, we can pay off a house. If we take all of the positive cash flow and throw it at the loan, we can have a free and clear house, generally speaking, about 10 years. So someone that wants to buy, in the case of the California investor I mentioned, he has 5 houses with us. he'll have a free and clear portfolio in about, he's been doing this for a few years now. So about 7 years left, we should have a free and clear portfolio with 5 houses. It throws off a darn nice little cash flow.
Yeah, and then obviously at the sale price, if and when that is taken advantage of, you have, the 100,000 plus whatever the difference is on the loan that comes back. So that can fuel more houses or
Exactly.
income.
Yeah, so at some point we'll have the option of, well, do we want to expand out the portfolio, or are we just happy with 5 houses free and clear? Both answers are great, whatever the answer is.
Yeah. So if I'm watching the show and I go, wow, 15%, pretty secure investment, insurance and taxes are included. Why doesn't everybody do this? What's that fear point that stops someone? If I have the dollars, why wouldn't I just jump at this?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, $90,000 is a pretty big entry fee for a lot of folks, so that's definitely a hindrance. But we're a small company. There's not a whole lot of folks that know about us right now, and it's not like I can go out and advertise things like this publicly, because what we like to do is teach how to make money. And we teach a lot of other investors how to do this and do it on their own. I take it as there's plenty of opportunities out there. So if someone wants to go out and do this on their own, great, have at it. There's it's a great business to be in. But if they don't want the headaches of doing this on their own, that's what we're here for. So part of it's just training and teaching and learning that the opportunity even exists, and then make that decision whether someone wants to do it themselves or partner with us to help them. And really, it's not something we'll go out and advertise for, because we can only handle so many properties at a time. And there's only so much inventory on the market that fits our criteria. So we're very specific and very picky about who we take on as investors too, because especially in a tight market, I can't go out and buy 50 houses. It just there's not that many out there. So we can do a few a month, and that's just all the capacity there is.
Yeah,
numbers work.
So if I wanted to get started, what do I do? What's my next step? Do I call you? Do I email you? Do I find you on LinkedIn? What's my step?
Yeah, any one of those things would be great. Probably the easiest thing would be to just pick up the phone, give me a call directly. My number is 520-539-9591. That's my cell number. It comes right to me. So feel free, if anyone is watching this and has some interest and would like to ask some questions, pick up the phone, give me a call. Otherwise, email. Our email address is our company name, Optimize Investments, plural, Inc., I-N-C. So Optimize Investments, Inc. @gmail.
So Optimize Investments, Inc. @gmail.com.
Yeah, in fact, I'll write it on the board here.
Look at you. And that we can see that, so it's perfect.
If you can read my writing.
Now, I know your current customers are investing in additional opportunities. So if I were to come to you today and say, hey, I want to try this, tell me about the waiting line.
Yeah, we do have a small queue right now. We have a couple of investors that are waiting for houses. And frankly, our problem right now is finding enough of the right houses for our investors. So if someone wants to come in right now, there's a short waiting period. We're probably 30 to 60 days out in finding a home.
Yeah. And as I look at your email address, optimize investments, plural, INC at Gmail, and then that Gmail would be .com.
.com, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Well, I really appreciate the lesson today. Clearly a 15% return on a business, or 8% even, since we're splitting some of this, is significantly higher. And with the fact that it has an asset base that's tangible, and it's in many ways something that we just look at the history of the US market is going to grow. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, and tying it all back together with that inflation piece, the thing that just makes this such a wonderful opportunity right now is we're going out and leveraging. This particular example was done at 4.85% interest. So we're looking at for investment grade loans, high fours, low fives right about now. But what better time than to lock in 30-year fixed rate financing? Our payments are locked in for the next 30 years with these things. What better way to fight inflation than to lock in long-term low rate financing? As inflation kicks in, rents tend to go up, prices tend to go up. So our income keeps going up, but with the exception of taxes and a little bit of insurance, our prices are pretty fixed forever. So
Nice.
yeah, we just have a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. The properties that we bought even as little as 4 or 5 years ago have many cases doubled or tripled in value. The incomes have in many cases doubled, yet our payment remains the same. And just wonderful, wonderful opportunities out there to fight inflation. This is one of the few vehicles out there that I know of that can really, truly fight inflation.
Mm. Well, I appreciate it. So it was wonderful to have you here today. When this airs, get your time sort of freed up so you can answer all these phone calls and emails. And it's a fascinating business. My compliments on the ingenuity to put this together and benefit entrepreneurs. I mean, think about it. It's us who are being helped by this.
Yeah, on both sides. There's nothing more joyous than putting someone into a house that didn't believe they could actually own a home. We just filled one this week where the husband is a tattoo artist, and he actually put unemployed on his form because he was afraid to claim the income. But as we did our due diligence and looked in to like bank statements and so forth, I mean, the income was ridiculously good. He was actually afraid to put it on the form because he didn't want it being reported into the IRS or what have you. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to blow the whistle at anybody, but our perfect resident, they made tons of money, but the banks wouldn't work with them. So we were able to get them into a house, and they were just thrilled. So those are just fun. It's just so exciting when we can help somebody out in a situation like that. And of course, on the flip side, most of us as business owners we're so busy running our own businesses, we don't have time to really pay attention to our investments very well. And I mean, the last thing a business owner is going to want to do is run out and deal with a clogged toilet at 2 a.m. That's what a horrific thing, or your typical tenant issues that we deal with. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to be able to help this segment of the market on both sides of the spectrum.
Nice. Well, thank you again, and I'm sure we will have you back to get an update somewhere down the road, because clearly this is a model that works in good times and in trying times, and so it'll be great to kind of stay tuned to your story.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, my pleasure.